Okay, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Is this thing on? Okay. Testing, 1, 2, 3. So, I'm going to make a height map off of this. I'm just going to be drawing it in GIMP. There are other ways to do it, but this is handy for, well, let's say I'm testing the stream as well. This is the first time I've streamed on YouTube with my account. So this will be fun. What I'm going to do, the reason why this is far too big, I think, yeah. I'm going to do this by hand is because the maps for the new tribes game are going to be rather small. I am afterwards going to run it through a terrain generator, like Gaia. I'm going to be full mirroring it as well, to give it a more, you know, natural look. But we'll see how that adjustment's going to go. We'll nix this for now, and then there's Terra Sculpture for smoothing, because again, we're probably going to need some smooth things happening. So let's see what's gonna go on here. I see that over here. I'm still seeing myself as offline, but I am streaming. I am live here. That's good. Good. So let's get into it. I'm gonna make this rather small for the start. I'm also, that is the most opacity. I'm going to reduce the force a bit. And maybe we won't go with white. I'll go a little bit like that because we don't want the highest peaks. Okay, so we'll find around the center here. I always do diagonal because I think you get the longest mirror seam, and it is the hardest to find the seam. Now I'm going to remirror it in Gaia as well, which will certainly make things interesting. I'm just going to make a few lines here because what we want to do, we want to create a midfield. We want to make a higher midfield, but we're not going to simply do this as a square. And these will also be our boundaries, basically. These will be the high points. So let's say if we break up the midfield like this, where do we want our bases to be? So just gonna check out what do we want to do. So I want this to be higher. So let's say we take our, you know what? Yeah, let's now start using the airbrush. So we're just gonna do this, fill it out a little bit, and we'll create a midfield out of that. And we'll do this one as well. Get that one high. So where do we want the high points? Maybe we want a high point over at the middle. So we will go back to some white here. Okay, and we'll just, I think, block this area off like this. Nice little square. And put the 2 peaks here. It's all going to become clear soon. Okay, so where are we putting our bases? This is traverse. So how about if we put 3 levels here, put a bit of blockage here as well. I don't really know where I'm going to put the bases yet. It doesn't really matter at this stage, but let's say that we have a high point, we have a lower, well, we have a high point, we have a midfield, we have a lower piece here, then maybe we put something in this area, maybe. Like so. We have, because we are coming from the other side on an angle, so the other base would be around here. And let's put that one back to gray and fill her up here. And we'll see what shape that takes. That's my intention. Now, the intention is usually not what I end up with. But regardless, so let's say we have spawn areas over here. We can make those a little higher and they can be closer. Voila. Okay. So, what then? We need some approaches, so we'll probably end up doing something like that and make another high point here. So I'm doing this with a mouse, by the way, it's not. And then same thing here. We have maybe a little shorter or a second layer. That. Okay. Now we're gonna make that a little thicker here. Have those be actual hills soon. All right, and then I guess it's fine to then just fill that in and go almost dark, fill that one in, and that one. Go back in here, scratch that in a bit. There. Good. So now we can start with doing the actual work, which is shaping things. So let's start off with this guy. Am I doing this right? Not yet. Force and hardness a little bit. All right. So, and we want the rates a little higher. Oh, we're on black, that's why. And let's put this on white. Nope. There you go. Yep. I have done this recently, but a little bigger to start off with. Blur this out a bit. All right, and then start coming off of this. Blend that in. All right. Coming off here. I haven't actually done this with commentary before, so. This one is unimportant. This is the barrier. We do want to make that very clear. Just do this, as it'll be the halfway mark here. This is going to be a problem, so I'm going to put this one in the black again. There we go. And nope. Pull out the dark in this case, so it goes down. There we go. A bit more here. Oop. Wrong button. Now, for the very finer details, I used to do those by hand as well, but we'll leave that into the capable hands of the terrain generator after we've done that. Still want some color here. These are not fully random motions I do, but I feel like there's a lot of randomness in these initial hills anyway. You can make the slopes rather realistic looking, or at least natural looking. Oh, real if you do this. And go with what you made randomly and just accentuate certain areas of it. What we've made here, for instance, is a bowl. You can identify after a while what's going to happen there. So because we want the base area to be around here, we're going to be very cognizant of dips that are going to be created here. If you're wondering, this is a 16-bit grayscale that I'm using for this. There we go. Cool. So the barrier here, and this is a barrier as well. Now these are straight lines, but once you are on the map, you're not gonna see any of that. So we want some more of that dark in there. Maybe we make a large slope, goes up to this hill, and then just fill this in. There we go. Everything seems to be working. Well, we're already been going 15 minutes. That's nice. Not expecting a large audience. Okay, so this one is kind of important because it'll be a blocking hill into this plateau. So what do we want from it? We don't want it to be peaking because then you have a perfect shot of this whole area. So we do need to flatten it. We need to drop the top here, maybe in 3 positions. And nope, wrong again. Increase the size a bit, and just gonna. That's the thing, like, you want craters, you want volcanoes, you want calderas, you don't want high peaks. You want places where people can duck. Even though this is high ground, you want people to be able to duck in. And then you can, if you really want to, do this and still have the high points at the edges of this. Now this is too much, so again we're going to drop the top of even these high points. Oh, and then forget to fucking do that again. And then we have again some dented hills. There we go. This is exaggerated, of course, so we need to muck it up a bit and let it flow into that, and hopefully something will survive of that intent. This is all, well, it's very up and down, let's say, so we're gonna smoosh that out a little bit so it's a bit more clear. But we have distinct features, so maybe I can... Is there something recent in here still? No. Let me see here. Where did I put? Is this it? Might be it. Yeah. So this was a finished map here where I went in. Should have maybe shown that at the start of the video, but that's fine. Announcements. Okay, so for Tribe 3, something just got announced. That's great. just before the playtest this is happening. So yeah, so this is that, and that turned out to be see if I can find it. Well, actually, I have to just load it into Terra Sculptor here. Landscape. That is in straight up there. This one, I think. Yeah. So after I've mulched that up, it looks a little bit like this. This is actually the inverted one of that one. So that's the kind of, this is of course much larger scale, much more detail than what we're gonna get with the with this little fella, because we are aiming for a much smaller map still, sadly. The important bit is that right now, resize a little bit. Right now, I am very much trying to get rid of every instance of absolute darkness. I will have dark spots, I will have dark gray areas, but I don't want to go to the 0 point anywhere. And even if that's the case, I will do something like this, for instance, to really get rid of it and still get these valleys in between. I'm not making a single hill. I am simply connecting these areas. That's what we're going to do here as well. One, I'll do the airbrush this time. One, oh, not when I'm on black, however. This, do that. And have these higher points, because we do want the edges to be a bit more adventurous. Because we want these to be relatively low. Because what we're doing is we're having a high mid, a medium, a high center point, a medium mid, and then lower surrounding areas with higher barrier mounts. So we have a way to, well, for cappers to go from a medium position to a low position to gain speed off of that transition, to then go around the map at speed, to then rise up again, use some of their momentum to get to an average speed so they don't hit the flag stand at 250 miles an hour, and then can dip back into the barrier around the map to then be lower, but also we're not making, we're trying to balance a map. We're trying to use the terrain to balance things. So we give opportunity to people who spawned on the midfield to then drop down into the low ground to also give chase. Even though these people they're chasing are going much faster than them, they, because of the center point of the map, will have opportunity to close that distance at a slower speed. And still the capper is going fast, so you will still need to hit a fast target, but at least you are capable of closing in on them. And that's what we're trying to do here. So these barriers shouldn't be too... It's all quite variable. Again, I can't use too much variation in height because we're doing this for a 5v5 small map, but the variation can still be there. The functionality of that terrain can still be there. I even believe that what I did here is more akin to what I did here which is going to turn out that I will probably have to smooth this out because this is going to be too detailed. So again, the size of the map doesn't matter because the idea, the concepts behind it can be respected. So yeah, and again, if I need to force my way some routes in here, then that's what I'm doing now. Making large movements, a simple gully here, and I can drag that in. So the levels are equalized in between these. So I'm going to put another. If the barriers are too big, however, then they're going to provide for free speed for anyone who actually gets in there. So go. I'm just trying to get the 0 point out of this here. Go. And we can come back to this, because this is all rather malleable. This is, I'll leave this a little pedestrian for now, because I don't know where I'd like the bases to be yet. So all of this is rather, okay, so let's go here, let's fill this in. Where is this? So we have down, we have up towards the center. What is this then? A setting off point? Maybe. So we'll put a barrier and then we'll try to make something happen here. I don't know yet. There we go. Let's do this the old-fashioned way here. No. Still a bit more here. But it is very much like painting. You put a little bit of paint on there. All right, so what we have a little bit of a zigzag. Let's put an actual gully in there. There we go. We'll break through this because we have to anyway. Let's break this up. There we go. So if we want the base to be around this area, a higher point here, we have a drop this way. We'll make this hill already a little bit taller, a bit more here, so you can bump into it, maybe deflect yourself. Again, what I'm doing here is assuming. It's an idea I have, but I'm not going to fully... My design ideas are fine and dandy, but the map, after the generator is done with it, is going to determine quite a bit. Go. So there's a bit of a dip in here, that's all right. So this is still too dark. Let's put this in here. I don't actually have to switch to the airbrush all the time. And in here. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this a little undetailed because I don't know what's gonna happen here yet. I want to get this into the generator and see what kind of map we're dealing with. There we go. Okay, so let's put the flow into it a little bit. Gonna speed up a bit. Oop, that was a mistake, but happy little mistakes, am I right? Okay, we're over the edge here as well a little bit. Good. Okay, what else here? So we want it to come from there. We want to keep that. The thing is, like with this, I took the time to break the patterns, not just have one area or one destination. I will not be accused of making llama trenches because I'm not making one straight down the middle. In fact, I've got a bit of a spine here that we might still need to solve. And this is also quite awful. Let's dent you a bit. And there we go. Just darken it straight with the airbrush. So we have a bit of chaos in the middle, that's fine. And then we really need to start using this fucking keys for this. All right, this is all rudimentary because the seam is going to be awful anyway, so that's fine. Okay. So we have one remaining big barrier here, which cuts the map in half. Or should I say, well, it's going to come around here as well. So this is going to be where that is. And there you've got a big barriers in the middle. Again, look, this is looking out of place. This is looking finished. So it'll be funny to see. And this is also far too detailed for what we're going for, sadly. So I'm going to have to muck it up a bit. Because we're going for large features and not a lot of details, sadly. Okay. All right. There's still a little bit of blockiness here, but that's fine. So we have midfield, we have lower, we have lower, we have higher. We're not going too high, I believe. But let's take a look at this, see what happens. So what we're going to do is go to 0 and 0, and then select the whole thing. Then we are going to rotate 180 degrees. Rotate. Oh, I'm an idiot. Copy, paste, rotate 180 degrees. There we go. And then voila. Oh my god, it's a straight seam. None of that will matter. And the fact that it's not a perfect mirror also doesn't matter because we're going to remirror it after. So there. What we have here is a failure to communicate. It looks a little boxy, I will admit. I might want to move the hill to the diagonal a bit more so we break this open. And we have a nice little through and through here. We have the little adventurous parts there. So we're going to save this into... Where's landscape? There you go. Let's put that in rivals for now. And let's do... Right. No, I'm gonna make it. I'm going to sandbox 1. There we are. Good. So I did that in what? Baseline is in 30 minutes. Okay, cool. Then we port it to our dearest friend. Not import tiles. That's for another thing. We'll go to rivals. I'll go to sandbox. Why? Because I didn't export it like a moron. That's right. Export as. PNG is fine. But, yep. Because it's going to look ugly. It's going to look awful. Always does. 16-bit. Boom! Oh no, Greth, what have you done? You've made a silly thing. No, nobody can ski on this. It's awful. It looks like that garbage you buffed out 10 years ago. Not wrong. Oh god. Where am I? What's happened? Yeah, see, so I do see that's it's the high points are far too high. I need to even it out a little bit more. But let's try and get to know the map. Okay, so here's the seam. This grid really annoys me. There we are. Okay, so it's tried its best. I've tried my best to keep things simple. I forgot a few bits there, but that's fine. So this is a first look. So what do we have? We have things, even because the high points, so even if we go to the high points, look how much line of sight blocking there is in the middle. This is awful. This is where the base, yeah, I need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. What do we have? We have trenches that might be useful, a little bit of a catabatic thing going on here in the sides. The base should be around here, I guess. So we have midfield and we have all those things. Yeah. So I am going to tone down almost everything on this. Let's get started. So I want all those white peaks gone. And I want all the black to be gone because that was far too much. This is also awful. I don't know. Is that the little thing that was? Yeah, that was the little artifacts I saw where things didn't get smooshed. All right, let's do this. There we are. The black must go. There we are. Okay, let's put that in. And yeah, we have to remedy this because it's not going to work. There we are. Yeah, in the middle here as well. Oh, I'm doing the wrong bit. This is awful. Yeah. And that's going to go away. So what are we trying to do here? So we need to have a bit more friendliness. And let's flow that out a bit more. I did rush myself a little bit. Normally I'll be doing this. Usually I do these in about an hour. Then that's with the full detail. There we are. There we go. A bit more here. Right. And then here it is far too dark. So let's input parameters. Kind of know what it looks like now though, so we want to, there we go, we can see that's still a thing. We can't be afraid of hiding, increasing the height, yes. Might do another one after this. I've got this, it's always fun to do. There we are. Okay, so we still have, yeah, that's a bit obvious, isn't it? That's a little less obvious. All right, I'm really trying to simplify things. Okay. I think that's better. I think the edges were also very high, weren't they? Not too bad. But let's bring that in a bit. Okay. Anything obvious sticking out? This one. And that one. Okay. Okay. This is still too black. I know it's on the edge, but I need to... Seam was a little too obvious. So we've mucked that up a bit. Okay, so what I was gonna say, I'm gonna maybe move this a little bit. So how we do that in that obvious line there. So I'm just gonna use the clone brush to go here and then do that. Okay, and then we're gonna go back in and maybe even darken this up a bit more again. Smudge it out. We don't want too much black there. All right, like so, and then we Maybe break through here a bit. All right, and then that in there. Okay, so take 2. Go to 0. Doesn't have to be perfect, but still. Got a first try last time. All right. Do. Copy. Rotate. No. Copy. Paste. Rotate. Rotate. Deselect. Smoosh. Seam. There we go. Okay. Save. Export. Re-import. All right. Still high on the peaks. Does normalize things. There we go. It's looking a little bit better. We've got a couple of spikes here and there, but that's fine. This is starting to look a bit more like a map, even though we have we need some hills on the seam. We really do need some seams on that, but that's fine. Okay, so what do we have? I do want to increase the area. I want to heighten this a bit. I think there's too much of a difference between these peaks. But there could be a base here. Here a base, there a base. Get some, away. That's why I like the diagonal mirror as well. So you actually automatically have a corner of the map. Usually you put your bases somewhere here and you still have some area there. So it wouldn't be too bad. This is very low though. Now, the thing is, like right now in the new Tribes game, it's basically 3 touches, right? So maybe the features aren't big enough for that, but yeah. I mean, I'm advocating for larger maps anyway. But this, let's ram this one in for a bit. All right, so we go here. Wait, copy this one. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this. Don't worry about it. I want this to be the very best. Sandbox never was. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. No, not what I want. That's what I want. Okay. Plug it in. And this is what we call cheating. There we go. Phase 3 and then full mirror node. We're not gonna wait the entire thing though. What is it exporting as right now? 248. Yeah, 248 is gonna be too big, but regardless, start build. Ha. So this is the point where I would talk to chat if I had one, but this is my first stream, and I just hope everything is going well. I haven't had any dropped frames. 1% CPU, 60 frames. No dropped frames, I had 34. Ah, all right. Oh. I'm just not going to be talking. Okay. What does that mean? I think it means is tribes on Steam already. That would be cool. Well, yes, let's check my email on stream. What's the worst that can happen? All right, we're almost done, I think. Shouldn't be too long, I think. This is bad streaming behavior that I'm doing now. Is talking in Discord while this is happening. Fine. So yeah, one of the things that is going to come out of this is probably it's going to be far too detailed because I made this for well, very large scale terrains. I made this for something akin to, oh, there it is, never mind. It has happened. So let's put this one into Gaia. Mirror endpoint seamless. Let's make sediment first. So this is, yeah. So this is what it made of it, of what we had. See a large trench, the seam is almost completely gone. And then it's remirrored it. So it's gonna keep key elements of it. So like for instance, this trench here, the little small hills, this here, and the large peaks. And then we are going to open the other one, which is a seamless mirror. Well, let's do the regular one first. There it is. Do you recognize it or don't you? Let's do this a bit. Okay. Now we are. This is okay. So comparison. This one versus. Now let's do it properly. Why is it not centered, you bastard? Scroll speed 4. There we go. So this versus this. Got it upside down, I think. Doesn't matter. Large hills. That is this block over there. It's broken it up slightly. I do see a little seam, but that's because it had to, you can tell that's a seamless mirror coming in there. So it's a little pokey over there, but you know, and over here as well, there's some spikiness to it, but you can fix that. Is it bad? It's not too bad. It's just one peaky hill here, and because it rotates at 45 degrees again in Gaia. Cool. So let's And this pains me greatly. Let's make it Tribes tree. Is that too much still? So you could have made a mountain range the size of the Alps with this, but now we're smoothing it down significantly. All right. Now, where are we putting our bases? I'm thinking barriers. We're putting it over here. And if we're putting it over here, then we have maybe a hill, or maybe we take it in the dip of the hill here. And look, people, what's happened here. Yeah, so we have a dip, we have a valley to ski down in. Let's say this is where the base is. Actually, you know what? Let's am I going to screenshot it? I think I am. So let's do this. All right. Right, so let's place the base over here. Right. You have a couple of choices here now. You put your spawn point. Let's put the... Oh wow, that's not even... Okay, let's stick with red. Can I make different colors? Thank you. Okay. It's yellow here. Let's put spawn point here. Maybe let's put a spawn point here. Let's maybe put a spawn point here. Let's maybe even, you can go anywhere. So if we put it over there, every point here you have speed, you go down, but then you have to go up again. Every single time. You're even, if you want to go through the midfield, you're better off going, if we do around, we go down, go up, or you use this speed, go down, use all your jets, be on a plateau. You're not quite at the highest point yet, but you can traverse, use your speed, and get to the other side where you go down again, because you're doing the same thing, up and down, but you're keeping the speed that you build up along the way because of your height difference that you make, right? And where are the cappers going? Well, let's see. Let's do this. Let's grab this again. Okay, so we've established the base is here, and the equivalent of that is over here. Okay, so again, you can spawn, immediately fall into a ditch and have fun. An odd thing to do. You can go around as well. Let's do light blue this time, so you can go down, up again, and be a midfielder. You can hide here as well. You can go over there. You can go down again and up again. You can do all manner of things. Are you a capper? Let's use the best color for that. So okay, let's find the lines here, because I made the lines like this. So maybe we, I don't know, go here, go there, and then be in this trench and go out. And then you're in the trench again, you go low as fuck, stay in here, do things. Meanwhile, as I said before, you have your chasers, which are definitely purple. They're coming off of a spawn, and they can catch up, right? So, of course, the cappers can break their stride, hit this, and go in. Let's go for pink again. So, I mean, the important thing is none of these things are single hills. They are all connected. They are in their own area. We have a higher point, right? So again, this is still too big. This is still too big. We still need, there's too much. So we're gonna have to smooth it out again. So now maybe I'm probably gonna have to let's go for the resolution shrink here. Let's resample. Resample this to oh, this hurts. Oh, not 48. 24, which is 50%. I could have done that too. I could have, yeah, I could have done that too. Let's do this. Altitude. Yeah. Hey, man.
Yo.
I'm dangling on incredible amounts of FOMO right now, so don't do that to me.
Well, here, I'll do you one better.
Okay. By the way, I'm testing my stream, so you're not on but you are your voices, but I don't think anyone's ever gonna watch this. But
okay, we'll turn it off.
All right. I'll I'll just mute the desktop audio because I'm. Are you doing a thing?
No, okay. No, I want to show you something.
All right, cool. So then give me 2 seconds, right? Because I'm just rounding this off because I'm using this as a video as well.
Oh no, never mind.
No, it's fine.
No, I was just gonna log in.
Okay.
To the home, because okay, a couple of days ago they still let me I could still log in even though I couldn't play. And you could at least.
Oh yeah, but that's fine. I don't need that. I don't need that. But yeah, that's fine. It's because I'm doing the YouTube. I'm going because I need to. So I'm doing the YouTube streams, and yeah, it's working. I haven't had a lot of dropped frames, and I'll unmute you now. That's fine. I think yeah. But yeah, so if you look, it's in my profile. It's the Greth account. I've just in less than an hour, in about 15 minutes, because I've been toying around a bit. I made a map, and I'm trying to scale down things for potentially solving problems with the new game. So I'm doing that. So actually go back in the VOD and see the whole process.
So what do you perceive as being potential problems with the new game?
So the main thing is the obvious things, of course, well, apart from size and everything like that, I don't really care about size. I care about what they're doing with the size they're giving themselves. And one thing I saw, especially in those clips of you that I've reacted to now, because I'm that kind of guy now, is that you don't have any space behind the bases. You bump into the out of bounds grid every single time, and that shouldn't be a thing. You should
actually,
have
that's funny. I actually asked them if they could maybe move the bases like a little bit more inland, basically.
Yeah. And the second thing that because I don't know if you saw my second video with when I was doing because I talked about it a little bit at the end of that video. There is only a single level of height on these maps. And what I mean by that is
sea level, where it's just like, yeah. I totally 100% agree with that. And I think that might actually be contributing to some of the weirdness. But here's the other thing. I think it is really only for fun speculation to even talk about it, because I really have this sneaking suspicion that the maps are blocked out. They're not actual they're not design maps at all. Actually, I don't even know if a map designer did anything, right? It literally looks like they just and is them just dropping some assets into an arena and filling it up and just kind of building something real quick.
I hope
just
so,
enough,
because
just enough so that we could ski around and emulate Tribe's gameplay. Like,
yeah,
I really think that was the point of the test. Now take this with a grain of salt, right? This is only my speculation.
okay,
But I agree with something one of the other testers said, where they said that it feels like we're getting siloed off for like very specific testing. I feel like
mhm,
that's exactly what the purpose of those tests was not really to get our opinion on like the big vision or anything like that, because they didn't even really share what the big vision was. They were very
yeah,
like non-committal in the way they would like respond about stuff like
mhm,
that. So because of that, it made me go like, okay, so we don't really know what the fuck's going on. Alls we know is that this thing in front of us is what we get to play, and these are the questions that they want answered,
yeah,
or this is the focus that they want to hear from us. I mean, and we did get an opportunity to kind of go outside the bounds of that
yeah,
specific request that they gave us. Like, we were allowed to say more, but most of the conversation like stayed focused on that, and it was primarily to do with physics and weapon feel. So like,
yeah.
what do
But
you think of the weapons, what do you think about the damage, how do they feel, how does it feel in this class, how does it feel in this class, and kind of swapping everything around, right? And then
so,
the physics
but
changed dramatically in all three instances, because
yeah,
like in the first, it was either the first or second test, I could cap in heavy in that test better than I can cap in light now. And it's
yeah, I
funny
saw
because
that in one of
it's
the
almost
clips
like,
even.
right? Yeah, it's funny. I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of wish the current light was the old heavy, as odd as that sounds.
Okay, I mean, I
Because,
get you.
but you know what I mean. So, but who knows from here? That's how different it was just in one like day worth of changes.
Yeah,
So, how long has it been since we last got a chance to play APC?
2 weeks.
Okay, so 2 weeks compared to the different changes they did in like one day and 2 days. 2 weeks is like basically an eternity's worth of time.
yeah,
So
I get
who
that,
knows how
and
much
that's
change?
what I. The one thing I was concerned about is, and I've not yet said this in that many words either, but the one thing I was concerned about, because I did talk to one of the devs as well, when they were coming into the TA community and like saying like, hey guys, we might be doing something, can we talk about it? And then, I mean, I have a reputation, but then they bumped into Gearling, but still, that is that if they're toying around with the physics based off of the maps they had that they showed you, then I have a problem with it, because they're band-aiding towards maybe a flawed system. So that's one panic reaction I had, is like, listen, especially the whole hill going back to zero every single time, like some of the maps have. That is, for me, like, if there's one thing I've learned over the last decade, then it's you have to have zones of height, right? You can't just have little drops of hills everywhere. So that's one piece of feedback I gave them, was start with a Perlin noise. I don't even care about all the other stuff I've ever said, but start with a baseline Perlin noise like they did in Tribes 1. Just go to any map generator, any terrain generator, and default, it's always a Perlin noise, and that's important.
I think sorry, I'm coming late into this conversation, but I think I had no, you're good. I think I had a similar, like, I think the first one to bring it up in the sense of the map design typically dictates the gameplay.
Yeah,
Um, it's and that's a shooter in most cases, like Valorant, Counter Strike. Like, the map needs to be what you build it around versus a lot of other things. Having said that, like, I think back to what I just got a sniff of when I first got here is, if we're given 2 weeks since we last played, we can expect major changes, because they built, from my understanding, the game in 3 weeks. And the way they did that was probably, let's take what we had with Tribes Ascend and just manipulate a lot of numbers and use the same sounds and models and add a couple things
yeah,
here and there from Dead Zone and Red. Like, they just mushed everything together and said, "Here's a
yeah.
game."
By the way,
And then
APC,
there,
I'm just I am chatting in the chat here, but I'm also testing a YouTube stream, so this is a VOD, so don't say anything that could get you banned forever or anything. But yeah,
okay,
I don't have any viewers. This is a stream test, so, but I'm building this channel, so it's fine.
Appreciate
Yeah.
the heads up. Well, I wish it was sooner, but I still don't think I said anything sensitive.
No, that's why I was, otherwise I would have just deleted the VOD. It's fine. Nothing of value was
funny,
lost.
bro.
Yeah,
But,
well, this actually happened too when I got into a chat with Miss Kane and Vax, and I said like a couple things to Vax that was very sensitive to him, and he was streaming, and I was like, God damn it, dude! Well, tell me these things ahead of time.
you
Like,
have to
I brought
know
up
that
something
I'm
from
a
the past.
streamer now. You know I'm an influencer, streamer,
no,
reactor
shame
now.
on you, not me.
Yeah. No, but that what you said, the whole we went from tribes from ascend. The one of the first things I did, and I only did it like ironically like a while ago when Dead Zone started, and they made obviously everybody showed up in the Dead Zone channel, but not as many as now, of course. And they immediately made a tribes channel, so they had a quarantine zone for us. And the first thing I said to Bart after I was like, "Hey, how you doing? You know, it's been a while. Good luck and all that." And I'm like, if I can make one suggestion, I didn't even talk about maps. I just said, "Hey, here is the Tribes 1 pseudocode for chatting and friction. Use this, please. Please, God, please, just use this. Don't use some janky UDK changing thing that you had with TA." Where if you wiggled back and forth, you went higher because you still had air control and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope that because of the speed that they still go and look at that pseudocode, if not just the regular Tribes 1 code, which they technically could because I guess they have access to that. But yeah.
Yeah, technically yes, but I think at the same time, my guess, and I have to just make this clear, not only for your stream, but for anybody I talk to, is I'm not involved with the dev team at all. And my guess, based off of just like knowledge, is like they probably are just repurposing the latest that they had with Tribes Ascent.
Yeah, it's a good assumption. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think as well right now, especially for the training, like the dynamic for me at least is a lot different. It's like, okay, we want to make this work so we can have, you know, we can play some Tribes again with more than 5 people after waiting for an hour.
And their philosophy with games are typically like way sooner than any other game. Like most game studios wait until they have a pretty decently polished game before they say, okay, public, try this, or at least a private public, you know, like alpha test. Here, they're like, we did it in 3 weeks, therefore we want people to start playing it now. Like they do that all the time with their games, and I don't know. I don't see the benefit sometimes because it could put a bad taste in the mouths immediately, and then therefore they're not coming back. I would do that too for a game that I don't care for.
See,
But I do care for Tribes.
I think it's really funny, actually, the way, like looking at the way people talk about like high res or prophecy games. Like there's a couple of people out there that are like really, it's like one, maybe 2 people, but they're really loud and vocal about how much they're frustrated with, oh, they're abandoning this and then they abandon this. And it's like, that almost seems like semantics to me. It's like abandon is business model. It's like intentional. So if it's intentional, then is it really abandoning? It's kind of just like working out as intended, right? If it fails, they
in a way,
move on to the next project.
That was the name of our clan.
Instead of putting 2 years of work into something and then bring it to the public and realize the public doesn't like it, then yeah, you just wasted 2 years of money.
Way too entitled to shit, bro. And it's like, okay, you spent 20, 30 bucks on it. It's like, who gives a shit, dude? You spend $40 on shit and get burned all the time. Like that's what happens. I spent $50 to kickstart this VR MMO and it's dog shit. It's like, but what am I gonna do, bro? Like they're trying their best. Like I can't do nothing about it. I took a gamble. I lost. Oh well.
Yeah, my opinion on the burn down.
I'm gonna go in and out of here when I can.
All right,
man. No, but my problem with the way TA was handled was I was still looking to build a career, right? And we had all the toys, we had all the possibility, and then the rug got pulled under from us. And it wasn't as much a game abandonment as a community abandonment, and there was a lot being built and a lot already built in the background, and then it just disappeared. For me, the game, because I said this earlier as well, like we couldn't get everything we wanted, so we made do with 7v7, right? We made do what we had, and that could still be an esport. Like that could have worked even with everything we had. It was the community aspect for me that was what eventually allowed me to burn all my bridges and just go full nuclear on IRS, because it was, you know, that was what the frustration was about, what the potential, the lost potential. So
Yeah, the
Yeah.
OTA was definitely missed potential, but I'm gonna be honest. Looking back on it, I'm a little less bitter because I really just kind of feel like Tribes has been an issue of bad timing for like a long
Mm.
time. Like, first of all, it was way ahead of its time. Like that makes perfect sense why Tribes 1 and Tribes 2 were not like super widely adopted. Barely anybody even had high-speed internet and fast enough computers to run
Yeah.
that shit. It's pretty standard today, but that's that's why I think this game, I don't know, I think it has to compete with like the release of like Titanfall 3, so that kind of sucks.
It's kind of, yeah, that's gonna be hilarious.
But beyond that, I don't know. Let's just to be honest, we kind of have to hope Titanfall 3 sucks donkey balls.
It might.
But
It very well might.
I think regardless of that, I really like, oh, dude, I have very low expectations. And even low expectations are not that big a deal. I just spent months playing a VR esport game where there's like a couple, there's a shitload of teams, like 70
Yeah.
teams or some shit. But like, that's not, it's 5v5, so it's a small community. But that's
Hmm.
kind of the point. That's why I'm excited, because it's like, even though that game barely has a couple thousand concurrent players, it still supports a whole esport community that can fill like 4 different leagues. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's actually pretty cool. That's enough for us. Like, yeah, sure, we have thousands of people that are interested in playing. Even if, say, 400 of them stuck around and, bought battle passes and skins and all that shit and played League and were super into it, that would be enough, I think, anyways.
Yeah, and for this as well. This is like hobby number 3 if it does happen, and I do want, because I'm more interested in, I want to cast the Tribes game again. I want to do that. I want to see people flying around, and I want those aspects. The game is very secondary right now. However, I do, again, this is for, you say bad timing, right? A year ago, I hadn't touched any of this stuff literally in probably a decade, right? There were a couple of things here and there. I was building an AFPS for a while, and then suddenly I get pulled in. I do all of this again. I open up all my tools and I go back to my little folder that has those old maps. I throw them to Dodge and he throws them in the TA modding community and he flies around on them, and I get like this visceral hit of endorphins just seeing someone play on my terrain. So I got involved in those other projects.
Okay, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
So this terrain that you have up here,
Yeah.
where would you put the bases?
I did things.
Show me.
Here you go. I've already been drawing. That's just preliminary. I literally made this on stream an hour ago, right? So I thought the red circles are where the bases are. So you have,
is that symmetrical? That's symmetrical, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's 100% mirrored. Yeah.
Okay.
So my opinion here, because that's the things I try to defend. Let's say you put the bases on the midpoint, surrounded by. So in my theory, right, subject to change, you have height levels, and within those height levels, you divide them into 2 to 3 additional levels, right? So you have mid and mid-high, right? You have the spawn points on those. I'll actually zoom in. I can actually do it in real life here. Hang on, not on the PNG. So let's grab that. So where you can see my cursor on the stream. Is that good?
Hold on, let me look.
Yeah.
Trolling. All right. Yep.
Yep. Oh yeah, patrolling is very important. So okay, so we're looking straight at the base right now. Yeah, my cursor is here. So spawn points on those mid-sized hills, maybe even on this high one, right? The important bit is that the base on the sides, you have a gentle slope. Here you have one or two.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I'm having a hard time imagining this because I can't really figure out what the scale is. So
yeah,
okay, put the mouse cursor back where you'd put the base.
there you go.
Oh wait, I don't see it. Okay, fuck. No, I was just trying to think. Like, okay, let me ask you this question. If you're at the bottom of where that water is, in between the 2 mountains at the bottom left,
yeah.
let's say you're in a little floating base that's like right above the water.
Okay.
how big of a jet is it from, let's say, the top of that base to the top of one of those mountains? Is it even possible?
Okay, let's.
How
I'm
far
just gonna
away is
open
that?
this up. Let's see here. So the water, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take the one that's an actual pit here, right? I would say in full jet, right? The way this is intended in my brain right now, as I am making it up, in a full jet without speed from the ground, you would get halfway. That's what I think. Because this would be like top of, if we translate it to TA, I would say a little higher than Katabatic, these white peaks. The highest hill on Katabatic would be this, would be these white peaks. And that's why because this, basically this area here, this is a border area, right? So this is more for bidding. This is not intended gameplay area, even though cappers are going to use it to build up speed, but that's fine because you can see that if you go from the highest white peak, you get to the mid-level, and the mid-level is basically the baseline of the map here. You won't have that much extra potential energy because you're skiing down there, right? You can do it and you'll use resources probably, but your speed gain won't be that amazing, except for a little bit you would have gone real fast, real high, real fast and low and fly over. It's a good feeling because that's what we want to make these maps fun as well. That's why I'll direct you to this. So I'll do the screenshot here so it's static.
Wait, are you showing me in Discord or are you showing me on the YouTube screen?
On the YouTube, yeah, it'll pop up. I don't know what the delay is like. So base, red circle, and then we have immediately, if you put the spawn points, I'll put the spawn points in blue. Let's say that we have spawn points here, right? You immediately can ski down at speed into a large valley, but you immediately have an opposing hill right there that'll soak up that. It'll just be fun. You spawn, you ski down, you jet up, and basically you're breaking even, but you're still going fast enough, right? And you'll hit that midfield. That's what a lot of my maps that I'm making have, is that initial speed. Also important if you're setting off as a capper, as an offense or something, that people can have speed. One very important bit, that because I'm going to make this into a coherent video rather soon as well, I'm working on it. Imagine for a moment that the lower edges of these maps, right, the bluer, the darker areas, okay? If you go from a very high hill and go into that, you'll be going fast. However, you have to go around because it's near the edges of the map, yeah? Now, I realize none of this will probably apply to the size of maps that we're dealing with the new game, but still, I'm trying, this is a challenge for me to try and incorporate the concept into a smaller map as well. That's what I was trying to do here. The capper will be going fast, will get his speed rather free because he's going on the edges of the map. However, people spawning and going into the middle will actually be able to catch up with them, and chasing is a thing if the concept works. The capper can be caught, can be cut off, but the capper will still be going fast. It will just be shot from above. The irony being that the capper being lower, but he'll still be faster, he'll still be a hard target, even though he'll have a larger distance. So offense and capper can actually meet each other. I don't know if I can draw this. Let's make a... So yeah, I was actually drawing it on this one. So if you see this, so if the pink is the cappers and the blue and the purple are O and D or whatever, then you can, in fact, you know, center your offense in the middle, the cluster in the middle, and the capper is actually the one going low instead of high, which was one of the problems that the devs spoke about, that they were scared of people ballooning upwards and then just falling down, right? They're going to the stratosphere. So with this setup of constantly working with the potential energy, you actually temper You don't temper the speeds,
I have
but
to
yeah.
say though, like I'm not like I do have a couple of thoughts about the map stuff, but in terms of
Sure.
the what they're doing to the gameplay and physics, um, it I at first I was kind of unhappy about it, and I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit salty because of the speed cap, because that just frustrated the shit out of me. Like it
Yeah.
frustrated me so much, I spent 6 hours trying to ski by myself just to break it, just to find out if I could. So I really didn't like that. But
It's weird that they went back to it.
after I just kind of adjusted, it's honestly not that weird to me. Not when you think that they're trying to condense gameplay. I might have to go all over the place to make this point, but
Mhm.
um, as a capper, it's kind of like you can cap my speed by just the size of the map almost.
Yeah.
And to be honest, on the map that we were playing, you don't really want to go that much faster than the speed cap. It's like you got nowhere to go with it or to get it.
Mm.
So even though it existed and it was frustrating, to be honest, you could ski pretty damn fast if you're doing it right. They just made it like really, really hard to get to the high end. Um,
Right.
but again, like I don't know if they're going to completely change that or not. But it
But you need
definitely
to have the
feels.
feeling, right? Because
Yeah,
that's
I
another
think
thing.
they have to focus on just getting the feeling right because it doesn't. I actually thought about this too. Okay, and I thought about like maybe having the speedometer actually creates this kind of almost like psychological subconscious measuring stick, and it almost maybe it would feel different if you got rid of the speedometer. Actually, I never even thought about saying that because maybe being able to monitor the speed like kilometer by kilometer maybe makes it feel faster or slower or whatever. Like I don't know, we didn't even
Yeah.
consider it.
Did
But
you?
the design choice to almost like put somewhat of a limit on cappers, coming from a capper, initially I didn't like hearing it, but I do kind of understand. The only thing that I'm afraid of is the meta thing that's going to happen. Because what's going to happen to the meta is if it becomes too hard to cap, then it's going to be really up to like walking, clustering, and almost like offense grabbing.
Yeah.
It'll be a meta shift where the capper won't even be the main grabber. They'll just be like maybe the regrab or the lucky grab. And the thing is, like, cowboying is going to be hard, so it's going to be really hard to cap with an offense that is not coordinated. Like, there are going to be a lot of collateral issues that are going to happen in the meta that I truly think a lot of people probably haven't considered yet.
Yeah.
That have like when we're talking about it, because it's almost like there are definitely going to be some problems. Honestly, I think it's going to lean more towards defense if they don't. Well, who the fuck knows, dude? Honestly, I'm gonna wait until I play it again because
I mean,
I expect it to be very different. But if
yeah. The
capping
thing.
continues to be neutered, it's gonna be really hard to get out.
The thing is, right, because I've had in the darkest moments, I had that idea of cappers have always been a problem.
Yeah, the hitting
It's
a hill at 350 and launching all the way home in the stratosphere where I don't even touch the ground and nothing can hit me, or maybe a
yeah,
sniper has like a snowball's chance in hell. But it's
yeah.
like that's that's really not fun for anybody but me.
And
So
it is also difficult to find people like you because not a lot of people will put the effort in, especially not new players. They wouldn't even know where to start because it's a very much a learned skill, like strafe jumping in Quake, let's say. So the thing of everybody can cap, I agree with, because capping is amazing and seeing them work is amazing. But I also completely adore people playing Half-Life 1 deathmatch, and they are crazy flying around everywhere, and nobody can do that. They are the players, and that's what when we were running pugs in EU, that was the problem. Nobody wanted to cap, and there were two people who could cap, and they were high-end comp players, so they were just playing the game by themselves all day.
well, okay, here's another good point actually to further the point of capping and approachability is
Yeah,
that oftentimes one of the biggest problems with tribes, okay, is that you need a bunch of different roles. So, and somebody who's good at capping might not know how to snipe, etc. So, doing whatever you can to mitigate um, people not knowing how to do a specific role, the better. Because let's like for instance, they right like in the tests, like all the lights had snipers. So whether you were capping, chasing, whatever, like if you were light, you had a sniper. So
yeah.
that right mitigated the need for a role. So
Mm-hmm.
they do a lot of that. Um, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like, I honestly don't know how they're going to change it at all. I have
Yeah.
no like idea about the direction. So I feel like a lot of my speculation based on testing is like kind of irrelevant and dated, you know?
So here, posit me this, or help me with this thought experiment here, because I've had this idea. I've been trying to formulate it, let's say, in translating it to something I could tell a dev, right? I believe, and let's keep the map size it is, maybe, but maybe we can make it bigger. I know I'm a one-trick pony, but to preserve the gameplay they're chasing and not become a problem. And this is a concept that in another project I'm working on, which I can't say too much about yet. Travel versus combat. You have your travel areas and you have your combat areas. And this can work if you actually design the map from the ground up with those concepts in mind. That's something that I believe, because Tribes 1 maps were, for large parts, survival of the fittest, right? Because nobody knew what was going to work and what wasn't, because we were skiing now, apparently. Yeah. So things like Dangerous Crossing is like the archetype. Dangerous Crossing is Tribes' Lost Temple, is Dust 2, is name a few, Arrow Walk from Quake. The staples, the ones that formed the meta and actually shaped the game, right? Especially in terms of LT, but let's not go about that. The thing is, I'm one of the few people have been sad enough to actually try and look for what is the archetype, what defines these maps, right? And for DX, it's I want to go fast off of spawn. If I'm going slow off of spawn or need to use resources off of spawn, things are awful. That's what LT players want. That's what a lot of the clones have been trying to do, is I go fast. That's what Tribes is about, right? And like you said, you just defined it for me. Sometimes I don't want to go the speed cap. But that's where the endorphins are for a lot of people, yeah? And then I sneeze about it. So the idea is, if you can design your map well enough, and I don't say I can, because a lot of the stuff I've done, I've made 2 maps for Axial Drift. One of them was actually played by LT players or Tribe 1 players that said that the things I did were good. That's still a high point in my life. I still cling on to that.
Did you make the map, the basic map, or did you make something else?
I made, a lot of the basic stuff was...
the one that's in my link where I do the VR thing, like, did you make that one?
What's its name? Because
I just know that basically both bases were just across a giant bowl from each other.
And what did the bases look like? Because I think if there's black towers that floated in the air, then it's mine, but otherwise it wasn't. But you can still download.
Yeah, I'm just not going to give him money because it dropped VR support, you bastard.
Yeah, I know. But
before I forget, okay, so when it comes to maps, right? There's just like with gameplay, how you can differentiate between that fast-paced 5v5 and the more like 14v14 like war simulator version of Tribes, right? Because they're both 2 totally different types of tribes, right? The small team, no assets, and the big team plus assets and vehicles. They beg 2 completely different design philosophies. So obviously a map like, Stonehenge or Dangerous Crossing lends itself very well to LT gameplay. But if you have too big a map and too few a people, then it spreads out all the action. And I have a feeling that their entire goal here is we 100% want to get everybody into the action, boom, fast as we can. And easily too, which is the other thing, I think we agree on this too, is that it's almost like I don't even really care what the concession is at this point. I've played enough Tribes. I'm not going to be picky about it. I'm not going to be petty about it. Do whatever the fuck you got to do to get new players to be able to play the game. And if that means you need to noobify it and put all kinds of guardrails on it and shit, then whatever, dude. I don't care. Like, I accept it at this point.
But that's the thing. That's why I said you have to really design the map. I believe you could have new players discover the travel areas if you make them obvious, right? And the obvious thing is a person's going to come out of spawn, bungle out. That's why my battle with the llama trench, and they just go forward, right? Or they go to the flow. They spawn. It is a problem in many shooters as well. People spawn and they run forward. So if you put your spawn and direct the newbie into the area where they will go fast, because it's a large drop. That's what, you know, looking at my screen again, looking at this map, you have clear drop-off points that if they press the ski button, which God forbid they might, they will go fast and the map points them in the right direction, or at least gives them speed. You have HUD elements that show you where the base is. Maybe they'll go there, maybe they won't. If another spawn, you go straight into the midpoint, still have line of sight blocking and have things happening in the midfield here, like I've illustrated again. This midfield area is a combat zone, sure, or where the offense will meet each other. Then that works. In TA, the problem was that everyone just bumped into each other in the midfield, and nobody ever learned how to ski because it was again on a 0 point every single time you would return to 0. The thing is, with you have the different height levels, that if you
Wait, hold on.
think you're on a
mid-air. Do you mean mid-air?
Did I say mid-air? I did midfield.
Oh,
Midfield.
okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I do I have to pay someone now because I said that word? But yeah. So if
Colonel Blair's gonna like pop out of a bush somewhere.
yeah, I feel I can see him across the street. Actually, oh god. No. So if you have different height levels, so let's say you spawn at a mid level, right, and you peter out, you bungle about. Even if you have no way or no knowledge of gaining speed, if you get the person to a lower level area, they will immediately gain speed because of the potential energy stored in that plateau, because they spawned on it. That is something that never happened in TA, because you always come back to that 0 point, Katabatic and Crossfire. You always had to go up the hill, down the hill, and you never got speed for free by just being on a plateau. And that is high concept, right? This is getting in the weeds a bit of map design, but I believe with designs like this, and I will keep iterating on the same principles I have here, you can get it out. Now, I will show you another thing, because this is already much too big, right? So we need to like change the features a bit more. I'm gonna hurt my own soul here, and I'm just gonna go into my my editor, and I'm just gonna oh, this hurts. All right, I'm gonna cue ball it. I've completely cue balled the map now.
Oh, you had somebody in chat. High
Yeah.
Fashion said the speed cap feels arbitrary. I think map design should be the gauge of capper speed. I actually do agree with that. I think that's the ideal solution. Ultimately, is map design.
Yeah, and we have to figure out what it is.
On that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I also saw him. I wanted to put that in there, but he's probably ran away. Goodbye, first viewer. Goodbye. So now I've cue balled it a lot. Now we might see the kind of hills. You know, now we've simplified it to the point where it might be usable in a smaller map area, right? So I've really just removed all the nuance to it. See, this is where you can see it starting to work a little bit, yeah, for the current intended size. And yeah, we have to figure out what that map design is, because I understand from having sat in front of this monitor for a really long time with Axial Drift. It took me, because again, I have a day job, so it took me 6 months of my free time to get the scaling right for Tribes 1 in Unreal Engine. And I did. So I have scaling and feature sizes figured out for Tribes 1. I also apparently got it pretty right for Tribes Ascend for its 500 resolution maps. It's, yeah, smaller than Tribes 1, by the way. But yeah. So that knowledge I have, and I understand that the people at Prophecy don't have the time to do that because they need to get a game out. They will need. So that's why I've been so adamant, like use the information I have made, because we can use that, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. That's what I really want to focus on, is when I get the playtest, because obviously I will, hopefully I will be one of the few. If I don't, then I will just sit in a corner and weep. But I'm just going to be looking at the map and see, like, okay, what can we adapt to this, and I can assist. And hopefully we get some community input there.
Well, you know, you're definitely going to get the opportunity once you play to do all that. You'll be able to make a whole video. Like, you should definitely record everything that you play, and then go back and analyze the shit out of it. You know, you should get some good gameplay from yourself, so you can have your own little anecdotal, like, oh, I tried to cap, I tried to play defense, yada yada yada.
It's good. Capping is going to be fun. The thing is, I've been playing a lot of like Tribes 1 physics, like a lot, but on a completely different thing, like completely different scale and feature sizes. But it's going to be fun. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to care about weapon balance, about classes, about all those things. I just want to see what's the physics you got and what are you trying to do with it. And I really think, I mean, you want to bump this up. I want to go a bit more into heresy. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to more. I want to simplify all the work I did. 13. There you go. There you go. This is starting to look like Crossfire. Oh shit. I spent like 30 minutes putting in details that are now long gone. But look, even if it's this, it will be better than what we're... And you can still see the 3 levels of height. You can still see the plateaus. You can still see all of that. It's still there. That's one of the points I made in the mapping rant video I made, was doesn't matter what scale you're working at, the concept and the features, they translate to any height point. Still, of course, less pronounced, but this could work.
I would say the main thing I agree with you on, above all else, is having that multi-layered height map, and not just having like this unified sea level for everybody. That was definitely not my favorite. They kind of changed it with the second map, but not really. Like, it was still kind of there. You could still kind of feel it in a way. So it's not quite there, but like I said, I really expect us to get blown away by some really cool maps that will not be what we expect.
Yeah. And ta-da! Hello. Hey, I'm streaming, by the way, so just so you know. But don't worry, nobody's watching. Apparently 4 people are. I'm famous. Hey, Blitz, you wanna see a cool party trick?
Sure.
Did you see the mapping rant video that I made?
I did not.
Okay, so this is new for you then. All right. So because I love Terra Sculptor, by the way, it's a free program. I do a lot of work, like finishing work in this. So it has a Perlin noise generator, right? So make sure you're watching on the stream. This is cool.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to do seed 1337. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to do size 1337.
Of course you would. I got it.
Okay. All right. Let's generate this one.
Okay.
What is cool about this is that it has a hill. Oh, let's reduce this a little bit. It has a hill in the exact center. Okay, which is kind of cool because it almost never happens with these Perlin things. So there's a big usable 3-layered hill in the middle, but that's not what the cool bit is. Let's see if I can find it this time, because it's sometimes a little wily. I'm turning around, I'm looking for it, because bear with me. It's sometimes very hard to spot and I can never truly find it. What I'm looking for... Aha! Here it is. I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit. I think that's it. That area there right at the bottom of my screen now. Okay. That is basically Dangerous Crossing. That has the exact makeup of Dangerous Crossing, because this is the purling noise. This is the kind of terrain generation that they use for Tribes 1. So the math is there. And you can see like DX pop up. It's like, you know, that deep dream stuff all the way at the start of AI imaging. You can see like Dangerous Crossing everywhere after a while. It's really fun. Because I don't know if you've ever seen the actual... hang on, where is it? Let's see here. Because I have an image of DX.
And we're talking Tribes 1 DX?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the original height map of the Dangerous Crossing, but I had it here somewhere. If you watch the video, you should watch the video. It's an amazing video. Yeah, I don't find it immediately, but so Dangerous Crossing is 256 by 256 in terms of resolution, right? It is I believe a 1/9 of that. That is the whole map of that tiny little dot. So I'm just trying to look for it, but I can't exactly find it, so I'm sorry, but I won't dwell on that for too long. I mean, I have this in GIMP. There we go. That is it. So if I'll make a circle here. So this is the height map of Dangerous Crossing. So the entirety of the map that you play, even in TA and everything, is this area here. That's all it is. So the whole, like 90% of Tribes was played on that little dot, and you can actually load it up. And it'll look a little weird. Yeah, that's what it looks like normalized. There we go. There you go. And that is the actual height map, by the way. So in Tribes 1, this is the resolution, and that is the spikiness. And that little pip there you go. That is Dangerous Crossing, right there in the middle of the screen. That's all it is. That is the core of Tribes, and you can see the 3 levels of height. You can see it, except for it's low, the mid, the high, and that's all it is.
Oh, I wish I could ski that map. I feel like for you, what would be the perfect thing is you don't even need a game. You don't even need axial drift. You need less than that. You literally just need a character that can fly around and have basic physics and ski around, and that's it. That's all you need. And then you could essentially play your map, tweak it, play it, tweak it, play it, tweak it. You know, you could really perfect it like that, I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been doing, because when I mentioned my not to be mentioned project, it already has working jets and physics, and I'm
on the right
so path. Yeah, if I'll link you that video, because I actually show some footage of where I'm using it. I'm using, right now we have a world that it's not going to be PvP, it's going to be PvE game. And for now, we're going to start with that, see if we can finish something. That's the key word here. And we have a worldscape plugin, it's called, and it basically creates a planet. But when I say a planet, real scale Earth, actual scale Earth in terms of size. The one of their demos is the actual moon with a height map that of NASA. So it actually has the moon craters as they are in real life, and you can ski them in actual scale with our physics. So that's why the maps be big, right? So reducing them, but our physics is basically Tribes 1 with a little bit of Quake in it. And I've been doing this. I've been testing. Now for Jetpack Battle, which is another tribe that is the Tribes 1 clone in Unreal Engine, that Omniside is making. I've also been testing. Well, I've allowed my maps to be tested there because the map access isn't there yet. But I have been, for at least a year, I've been skiing on at least one map concept a week. So I've been testing this in actual environments. So I'm at that point where I might say I have the arrogance to say that I know what I'm talking about beyond just being the idea guy that I was 10 years ago, even though I've tested my old concepts and they had their flaws, right? I mean, if you look at what I made, here you go. Let's say, well, I have better now. Oh yeah, I remade Katabatic. That's the thing I did.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah, Gradabatic I call it. This was also a test. So all the hills are there. But I made it realistic. So I'll actually, this was a bit of a meme, but I did this in under, I took the Tribes 2 height map and I churned it through my little setup here, which is this. It's a lot of nodes in Gaia. That's what I churn it through to get that result. And then I get this. See if you can recognize Katabatic. While I look for the comparison that I made, I'll drop it in the memes channel. Okay, it's the first meme I've dropped in there. There you go. So you can maybe get your bearings. That's the two. That green stuff is the Tribes 2 height map. The middle one is mine, which yes is correct in that. And then you have the Tribes, the Tribes 2 in-game height map of Katabatic. So again, it got mulched by a realistic terrain generator. That was kind of the point of it. But it was kind of funny to see that it retained a lot of the characteristics. But except for the glacial flats are gone now.
Right.
Yeah, I've been doing that kind of shit. Been fun.
You're doing God's work.
I hope so. Well, the thing is, because I wasn't planning on this. I wasn't planning on Tribes 3. I wasn't doing that. I have 2 projects that I'm working on a regular basis that I provide maps for, and we're building a thing. And so I'm not going to be stuck with FOMO.
Do it, dude. Build your thing.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like,
gotta come cap with us.
It'll be funny. It'll be funny to see me.
What are you gonna do? Are you more of a defensive guy? Are you more of an offensive guy?
I've done it all. I mean, when I was that brief glorious period, about 2 months, where I was playing competitively, high-end competitively, where I put everything into it with fucking Streen and stuff, and when Matin was still going for us, I believe. I first was offense, then I was sniper, offense again, and then I played a little bit of defense.
What do you prefer? What really like gets your dopamine going?
I'm an offense player, I think. Out of all of that, my let's not call it professional career, but let's call it semi-professional career. I was Medal of Honor, Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2. I played in some Premiership divisions back in UK clans. That's the reason why I speak English the way I do, even though I'm from Belgium. And I was a sniper there. I was a sniper in TA as well, but the offense, the flow of the offense, timing the kills with the capper coming in and stuff, that's a big rush to me. If you clear the stand and you see that guy just moving away and you know you did your job, that's what I like. I don't like ending people's fun. I don't like being the defense to body block the capper and say, sorry dude, go again. I'm not that kind of person. I like to earn my kills, or earn my earn the part, let's say. Is that weird? That's a little weird.
No, I get it.
Here's the hang on. This is the this is one of the first maps I made. Ooh, scale is a bit different. So this is a remix.
Sniping is probably the only role that I don't like, and that's only if it's like a dedicated role like it was in Tribes Ascend. If everybody has a sniper and it's sufficiently balanced, then yeah, it's whatever, but I don't like playing dedicated sniper. That shit's boring.
Yeah, I did that for a while in Pugs, but yeah, it's.
But everything else can be fun. I don't know. I like to move, right? So chaser, capper, offense, and would be preferred. Hoff is definitely last on the list, and then
Yeah, for me as well. Like in the game, to go fast, you're gonna stand and ruins everyone's fun. It's a bit weird. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I mean, it's different. It's fun. You can do some cool stuff too. It's just not the same cool stuff that the capper chaser do.
Yeah. Wow, this is one of the first maps I made 10 years ago. Like a month after I learned how to make maps. And it somehow got corrupted because it just got all these lines over it, but yeah. It looks similar to the one I made today, I will say, but that's the thing, like... Okay, so have you ever played StarCraft?
A little bit.
Alright, so...
I know of it enough to talk about it, but I've never really like dove into it.
Okay, so you're aware of where balance lies in StarCraft, or at least Brood War, right?
No, I wouldn't even say I'm that far into it.
Okay.
Like, I don't have any idea about the meta or any of that at all.
So, and I think
what the game is and what they're doing, and I've played it a little bit.
So my first maps that I ever made were for StarCraft, and then I got told by people that were much better than me, the mapping community, like, no, you don't understand. And I learned some very valuable lessons there. I assume this is also the case for Quake maps and for Counter-Strike maps and all those kind of things, but I never made those. I never knew the meta of the map making, because you have the meta of the game, but you have core principles of map making. That's because I just noticed, this is something that just came to me because I looked at this map and I, like, to a layman, this looks exactly the same to the one I just made earlier, right? The thing is, you have these core pillars of what makes the map playable, not balanced, not, different, or not, just purely playable, because you start with a blank canvas. And in StarCraft, variations of percentages can change the entire... So there's 3 races, the 3 matchups. In Brood War, historically, it's 55% across. So it's...
let's think about this for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you play Tribes 2?
I did not.
Okay, well then we'll just skip the Tribes 2 part. But I know in Tribes 1, Dangerous Crossing is one of the most popular maps in Tribes 1.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in Tribes Vengeance, the most popular map was Tropics, or at least one of them was when I played. And then in Legions, the most popular map was Frostbite. I don't know if you played Legions, but Frostbite was basically a one-touch map. Like, you just had to touch one bowl and then touch the ground somewhere, and then you were at the enemy base. And even though it was that close, it was still had enough stuff on the outside that cappers could do their thing, but offense and defense could get into position pretty quickly, and it just allowed for such a fantastic flow. And then in Tribes Ascend, one of the most popular maps was Arcs. So and Arcs was a map where you could just spawn, slide down a hill, hit another hill, and then you're at the base, and it was just really simple, There was
Yeah.
very clear like where the base is and what you had to do to get there. And I feel like even though there's a lot of really good maps out there that are all very interesting or complex or fun for their own niche reasons, at the end of the day, the simpler the map, the more likely it is to get played.
Yeah. And that is the thing, like in early Brood War, there were maybe 30 maps or so that the game shipped with, right? So you had StarCraft Vanilla, and then you had the expansion Brood War, and added a few more, right? And the map designers of those first core maps had no idea, right? They played the campaign. Then out of all of those, 3 maps, maybe 2 maps were played, Hunters and Lost Temple. And from Lost Temple, it was the progenitor of every single map afterwards. 4 bases, sometimes 2, but the way the minerals were placed to gather your resources, the way the expansion spots to get your second base, all of those things, the core principles that formed the Brood War meta. And because Brood War didn't get any balance patches after 2001, okay? So all of those high points in esports were all balanced through tweaking the core concept of Lost Temple. And that is something that I believe has never been done for tribes, because we've had so many different variations of the game, and mostly people stuck with the maps. I don't think, has a community map ever become more popular than one of the core maps that the game shipped with?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about that for a second.
Yeah, because that's the thing, like, Lost Temple was popular, was the esports map for the first 2 years of Brood War esports in Korea, right? It was broken as shit. It was imbalanced. It was awful. Entire strategies only worked on Lost Temple because of how broken it was. And certain races, especially, I think, yeah, Zerg was sometimes completely screwed for spawning on a location where a Terran or a Protoss player can just wipe the floor with them just off of location. But it was the only thing that was playable out of all the maps they had. So they iterated on it. Iterated and iterated for years until a map called Fighting Spirit was the last, let's say, pure pedigree Lost Temple clone. And that fucking map, in the first few years before it got completely figured out, because of course you have a competition going, was almost 50-50 across all races. It was the most perfectly balanced map. Then it got broken because then people figured out other metas. That's a thing, because that's the only thing to do, because there was no balance patch. There was nothing happening to the game, only to the maps and the tweaking. So we had to figure those out. And that's sometimes, I believe, let's say, let's huff some copium, I believe the kids say. Let's say this game in a year from now is an esport, right? Let's say a good amount, 20,000 concurrent, we're doing it. If that happens, I believe that we're going to get to a point where moving a single hill is going to determine a different meta to the game. If you have your core maps and you've established that core that we've never done, that I've been screaming at the wall about for the last decade, basically, we can figure that out. We are to the point where we'll move bases across the map and keep the height maps, right? Just this as a baseline height map. Keep it, move the bases a bit to the left and a bit to the right, and the entire map will be different. That's all it'll need.
Hold on a second. Doomsday, are you presently here? Okay, I think I heard him.
He said.
Okay. I have a question. Can I ask a question about Discord stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can. It sounds like you're cutting out early before you finish what you're saying, but otherwise I can hear you.
You're
I'll check my attenuation. Is this better?
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so my dumbass was trying to add roles earlier because I didn't want to keep asking you. But I noticed that when I did it, they didn't. I don't know. They weren't the same as the roles you made. What am I doing wrong there? Because I was just going to add role and then just doing it. Like, what did I
Like
miss?
you actually created one, you mean, rather than adding someone to a role?
Yeah. Like created a brand new role, like made a team or whatever. And
Yeah. So when you create a new one, like a clan, for instance,
okay.
you're going to want to check a box that's below that separates them from the other in the list.
Okay, let me pull it up
There's a
so I can see
slider.
it really quick. Okay,
you
so
look-
I'd hit create role. Who is the team that I need to create? Let me think. Fuck, I can't think of any. Okay, what? I'll just say yes. And then, okay, you said check a box. Oh,
Well,
wait.
there's a slider. So you just click create role, name it, choose a color. And then
Okay.
below you'll see a slider that says display role members separately from online members. So you're going to want to have that.
Oh, okay, that's what I was missing. Okay.
And then on top of that, you'll also want to slide the new role up in order so that it's above like a tribes player
Oh,
role. Because if you
okay.
don't do that, then the
The
tribes player
tribe
will take
player takes
precedence
over.
and they won't.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what I was wondering. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for that.
No.
The other thing that I was curious about, because I was thinking about all of this like talk that I was, doing in the other tribe server, and then I was talking to the devs about, is about the whole role thing, and with queues, is that like I personally think queue is a great idea, but I really, really strongly suggest that those queues have roles in them. Otherwise, if you just do random queuing, then you could end up with a team of 5 cappers and nobody defends, or everybody defends and nobody caps, etc. Is there a way that we can integrate like a primary role, secondary role type of system into the bot thing so that teams don't get set up in that way?
Well, the only way to really accomplish that is to use captains, where they pick the players after.
So yeah, these guys are talking about things. Was a short summary that I've been up to since. Yeah. So basically, in terms of game design, or in terms of just basically existing, because there's a big difference there. I mean, I did, after Tribes Ascend crashed and burned, I went basically, we got a rebound off of Quake, because that I went to the arena scene because I was already in game design a little bit. Then I bumped into a couple of people who were making an FPS game, and it petered out a little bit, but we have some test footage, and yeah, then it was a little bit kismet. It was like it turned out that the arena scene, Quake and stuff, was having a bit of a renaissance. This was post, I think, 2014. The Fortnite thing hadn't happened to Unreal Tournament yet. So the Unreal Tournament was starting. Everyone's really hyped about that. The community started to revive. Then you had development projects for Reflex and stuff popping up. Quake Live went to dedicated, and tournaments were being held. Big things were happening. And I got caught up in that. I started doing some Quake casting. I even organized a large tournament in Belgium for the first time in forever. Did a lot of those things. But then, yeah, Unreal 4 got killed by Fortnite, which put on Epic, but still they could have refunded a little bit to Unreal Engine, to Unreal Tournament 4, because the community was there for it. But that's in the past. And then Reflex, was released finally, and it was a good CPMA clone, but it was far too difficult for anyone to ever learn. We tried to do that. And then Quake Champions was announced, and Quake Champions kind of closed that chapter. Quake Champions was so awful that it just collapsed the community overnight. Everyone's wind was out of their sails. It was done. And then, oh, hello, I know you. Hey, man. There's been so many fucking names that like fire synapses that haven't been fired in like a decade. Geez, yeah. But yeah, so after Quake Champions, everything shot to bed, and I went back to StarCraft and did that for a while. Build a few things, did a few things, started. I still have a community there that I have neglected. That's why I started a new channel to not piss them off, because they haven't had a video from me in like 3 months. And on the professional side, I'm still, can you believe, working in antiques. I'm working at an auction house, and we're probably going to start building our social media there as well. I'm going to probably do videos for them as well, because it's the family business basically, and we're trying to get with it. Hello, fellow kids who are in antiques. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
That would immediately identify them.
And they're still talking about Discord stuff. All right, cool. So yeah, that's been the gist of it. I've also been DMing for 6 years now. I'm a dungeon master. I used an old manuscript I had to turn it into a D&D world, and I have 2 groups right now. I've ran a West Marches little a shop game out of my world as well, and that is also near to my heart. I spent a lot of time on that. I have like 250,000 words written in that world, and I'm now novelizing that. So that's another thing that I'm working on. This is sort of going to come into between it, but I might say that if everything goes well, I might actually also stream my D&D game, one of them at least. Well, I'll talk to the other group, but we're doing that. So I'm Dungeon Master. I like talk, yes. So if I start speaking like this all of a sudden, well, then perhaps I'm quoting some kind of... I'm not Matthew Mercer. I do the characters, but yeah. That's the thing. And yeah, if... Again, I don't have a lot of expectations, which is maybe the healthy thing to do. I do want this game to succeed, but I am going to make sure that I've made myself heard about this stuff, because that's near and dear to me. Because I've been carrying that weight of it could have been different for Tribes Ascend. I know for a fact that the maps I made for Ascend would have worked now. I know this. And it is not a great feeling. I even made this thing. I made this on 505. I've made it on the tiny little resolution that TA uses. Look. This thing is over a decade old now. Again, same principles, but a bit of remix, so you have the base on the high ground instead of the low ground, and you have a lower midfield, so you go into the midfield at speed. So that's another thing, like if you lower the midfield, you can actually get the speed off your spawn and traverse fast. So everyone's going fast on this map to traverse and then slow down because you hit the base. So this is my first cluster plan. Like if you have a cluster style map, you have the base high, midfield low, everyone's going at speed and shooting each other in the midfield and then slowing down to get to the base. So you throw, you toss, so it's a flag tossing match more. You pass along to people who are still going fast because you went slow to get into the base. Obviously, you also have the high back areas to have cappers do silly things and still maintain the high point. If you can start a route, for instance, at this high point, make it over there, make a pit stop here, and then go in, you might still grab at speed and get out through the back area. Again, this is 10 years old. I would do this completely different today. these were the concepts I was working on. I was trying to find that baseline. I was.
We have no idea what the maps are going to be. I'm certain that the physics are going to be super different. They mixed up the weapons and abilities so much that I have no idea what weapon is going to end up on what armor.
Hey, we're talking tribes again.
Yeah, and
Yeah, sorry.
there's a whole bunch of stuff that you know, that they didn't even put in, right? Like we had no chasing tools, but they're very aware of that, and they have a bunch planned. So it's like, who really knows what the end result is going to be? I think even the testers are going to be really surprised.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to being surprised, because chasing isn't a thing because you can throw the map, throw the flag across the map. That's the thing. You don't really need to chase.
In the test, you couldn't shoot the flag, and the flag didn't bounce, which really sucked. I really hate that. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. I feel like being able to bounce the flag around is like a huge aspect of being able to outskill somebody.
Yeah.
And the throwing at first sucked. It was really wimpy. It felt like it was like you were shitting the flag out, and and it sucked. And then they changed it, but I believe they overcorrected, because now if you get any kind of speed, you're in the air, you look up, you throw it. I can literally launch the flag. Okay, like say I do like a front route on that crossfire looking map, and I'm getting ready to exit, like I did my fly up and fly back thing, and I just hit my disc jump and I ramped off. If I throw the flag right at that moment, it'll go all the way behind my base. And
Oh,
it's like, yeah, it's if you loft it just right and you're going really fast, that shit will go. It's a bit much. I hope they
yeah.
tone that down a little bit and make it kind of launch out of you, almost like you're shooting the flag out, because right now it very much feels like you're lofting it.
You know, I still feel maybe this is me as a caster speaking rather than the guy who, you know, wants a balanced game. I still think we should, you know, be able to grab the flag as an item and just power up a throw. And I'm guessing that in the heat of the moment, that's never going to happen. But maybe if you're a little planned, you can like do that. I don't know.
That'd be interesting if your throwing charge was like part of the jetpack charge or something like that. So you only got so much that you can use.
Yeah, and then you get the throw indicator, like that's like a lot of games have, that you know where it's kind of going. That's another thing. Like, what, you know what I'm really afraid of? Like, no, I was, you know, the onboarding for Tribes Ascend was horrendous, right? I still, the meme I always say, well, it's not a meme, but the event that I always quote is a lot of people joining the game because a couple of big streamers or something, like big figures, were promoting it. And so many people on that map were just Call of Dutying in the midfield, right? They didn't know about jets. They were just going up and down, up and down. They didn't know what skiing was. They walked halfway across dry dock and were killing each other there because that's where they met each other, right? And they were using the guns. They were using then the hit scan. Now we won't have that. I like the idea, and that is a community thing, the honor fuser stuff and stuff, right? My greatest fear is that any new player that's coming off of a Fortnite, an Apex, whatever, is not going to hit a single shot except against other people who are stuck on the ground. And the path from shooting to the ground to trying and taking someone out in the air, because in that video I made with your all alpha footage, you like take someone out in midair, you midair someone. Ah shit, I need to fucking pay money again. I need to like put a midair jar in here somewhere. But that, I make fun of you a little bit because you land the first midair and then you start missing every shot. And I'm like, don't worry guys, he's a professional or something. But that's not going to be trivial unless they make it trivial in terms of hitboxing. But that is pedestrian for us. Mid-airing is something that comes to us. That's what we do. That's what you go for, because that's what gets the highlight reels, and that's what is amazing in this game. We're going to have to teach an entire generation how to do that. And the game has to teach them how to do that. Because so many people unless they see their favorite streamer doing it, which I don't know we're going to have at the start. Nobody's
Okay,
going to
wait, hold
watch a
on,
video.
hold on. What is the thing that we need to teach a generation? I'm sorry.
To shoot people in the air with a disc.
Well, okay, so I have an opinion on that because one of my friends I invited into the playtest is a Zoomer. He's like 22. You know, he plays a lot of VR, but he's also played a lot of like, you know, Counter-Strike, Valorant, BattleBit, all that shit. Has never played Tribes in his life, not once.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think they're going to have any trouble aiming if he's any indicator, which I think he is because he plays like in esport leagues and stuff. You know, he takes his gaming very seriously, like most 22-year-old dudes. And his aim was fine. Like he was actually really impressive. He was holding his own against some very talented veterans
Okay.
because his aim was on point, but his movement was funny. It was like he almost treated it kind of like as if it were like Apex on steroids and you could just slide everywhere for free, you know?
Okay.
He was kind of treating it more like that. So I don't think the concept of flying up really high and landing on a hill to slide faster, I don't think that thought even occurred to him a single time.
Yeah.
But mid-airing people definitely did, bro. I saw him go for some mid-airs that I was like, oh, dude, they were like 4-second hang time, super off in the distance mid-airs that were
All right.
amazing. I was like, and he was so close. I was like, holy fuck. Not only is he actually like targeting and like trying to go for these shots, he's like really close. These are not that far off at all.
Okay.
I was actually super impressed. So yeah, I think that we should probably not, and this is just my opinion, right, for what it's worth, but I feel like as a community, right, especially all of us that have like been in it for a long time, I think we completely lose sight of what it's like to see it through the eyes of somebody who's new. So we just assume a lot of stuff, and I feel like we should probably stop doing that, and we should probably
Yeah.
just
I
straight up
mean,
ask
for me,
people.
it's
You know what I mean?
worry, right? It's worry that, I mean, thinking about it, maybe taking away the chain is the good thing there because they won't go for the chain. They actually have to force themselves to use the gun.
That's a really
Yeah.
good point, and I want you guys to know that that is actually something I hardcore noticed in the playtest was the lack of being punished for flying, which I'm used to like Tribes Ascend, where it's like you stay glued to the ground in 80 AD, or because if as soon as you pop up into the air, you're getting your ass chained out, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like that did not happen at all because your weapon for chain, if you were light or medium, was like a shotgun or a pistol. And it did
Yeah.
a little bit of damage. You could definitely do damage with it, but you're not whoring nobody with that weapon.
It's a
So
finisher. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So and because of that, the games actually felt kind of fun, which I know a lot of people are going to dislike, especially the super tryhards, and I used to be one, so totally fair. But I think the game is better off without it. Like even though yes, it's skillful and it helps separate people and causes a skill gap and all that shit, that's great. But I would rather the game be fun and approachable for new players first than appeal to the super high end amazing players. And if the game is a little bit more noobified because it's more like an honor fuser type game, then so be it.
I
At
mean,
least it's kind of fun. I mean, that's
one
my
of the
personal opinion though.
yeah, in my first like intro video that got pinned, which is still weird. One of the key I was really thinking because I spent all day making that 4-minute video, right? I was really like, okay, what is like the five? If somebody grabbed you on the street and say, explain Tribes to me, but I only have 10 seconds, and like the core thing was that really needs to be drilled into people's heads. This game isn't about the kills, but when the kills happen. And the fact that making the kills might be more difficult because you can't just chain someone out is probably going to help that, because you're not going to go for a kill unless it's necessary, because it's like, I need this guy gone, I need this flag back, and then people will focus on killing a specific person rather than just deathmatching. But yeah, again, one of my concerns as well is the concept of CTF. Of course, if you have a smaller team, then it's easier to focus on that because you're going to have a chance to touch the flag. If you have, because I'm sort of like I try to work with what we're given. So a massive 16 versus 16 CTF pub, not a lot of people are gonna ever see that flag, and they will be incentivized to just randomly shoot the shit and not focus on the objective. So I'd rather advocate for a pub mode to be flag related, or at least something other than CTF, which I know is heresy to some. But yeah, it's but yeah, with the playtest, a lot of the speculation will at least have a direction, right?
Yeah, it'll answer a lot of questions, and then because like I said, I'm really curious to see like how much of a change they've made, like how much of our feedback did they listen to? Because after the first and second playtest, one thing that was clear to me is that they're certainly listening to our feedback, but only some of it.
And it's always interesting to see what sticks and what doesn't, right? Because
well, I mean, like what I mean by that, and again, this is just speculation. But what I mean by that is that it feels like they're very open and receptive to certain things, like maybe changes to the physics, but maybe less receptive to things like the speed cap. So it's like obviously some things we're gonna have to learn to compromise on, and other thing because and I think that compromise is for the greater good because it's generally some way to speed the game up and to noobify it. At least that's the way it seems so far.
well,
But if we put our foot down on like the right things, like physics, flag physics, weapon handling, shit like that, like the important shit, the core, pillars. I believe they'll listen.
So again, I'm of the opinion, and like I said before, I won't start my rant again, but I think the speed cap can be fixed with map design. I think you can have the illusion of going fast in travel areas, and then you slow down again, but you had your fun. I think that's 100% a possibility. And yeah, so the tweaking with the physics, again, locking in those pillars of map design is going to be what's key there. I think that's going to be a major point. I mean, I don't want to make my video longer than 10 minutes on this because I know that nobody's watching anymore, and especially the devs. But it's one of those things, like, you need to figure out what your core design is and then stop fidgeting with the physics and try to solve your problems with the map design that way. Yeah. It'll be interesting. And I realize that they'll probably stay with the competitive 5v5 because if it does become an esport, which you shouldn't assume, you should first make a community and see that something blooms out of it. But I understand they don't have that time because they want to have hit game, and then if it works, it doesn't, or doesn't. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, they move on again, and they'll probably go for raiders. So I know that reality. Exactly.
Excuse me.
Was that a visceral reaction to that name, or?
No, that was literally, I have a nicotine pouch in my mouth, and every now and then I'll just accidentally swallow some of it.
Dead stop.
Oh dear God.
Oh, what was that?
That was dead stop.
That was a clip.
Yeah. By the way, because I'm gonna be finishing this up soon because it's 11 at night here now, and I have work in the morning. So I just wanted to show you, if you're still watching the stream, I just wanted to show you like one. This is again something that I dug up from one of the first things I made like 10 years ago. I still haven't made a modern version of this, but this is like when I said like travel areas, right? Or fixing speed with the map. This one is like an inverse of what I made today. This is have a low mid ground and have the bases up high. So you're spawning, going down high from high, and then scooting across the midfield at high speeds, but then slowing down to get into the base and cap. So this is more like, how do you break cappers? How do you make cluster style map? Because you'll want to pass the flag on to people already going fast still in the midfield, and you'd basically be tossing the flag out, but there'll still be large hills at the edges where dedicated cappers can still make longer setup routes and still, enter that base at speed and still, and then maybe either get clustered or, because even the chaser would have ample opportunity to go fast. But yeah, that's, again, I haven't made a modern version of this. That was one of the concepts I was playing around with. But yeah, on that note, I think it was good to have a chat like this to like turn around the gears in the brain
honestly,
a bit.
Tribes makes me feel like I might be autistic. It's like the only thing in life that I could just like hyperfixate on like this and talk about basically forever. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's, after all this time for me, it's just, I want to prove that these things can work. That's really all I want to get out of it. If any of my concepts hit it, or if any of them, if God forbid we ever have community map making, which I really doubt, but I think this is the last shot to give it a go and see if we can actually make this thing happen and make it work. And it would be wonderful if it did.
Yo, dude, I think as long as you are willing to spread a little hope and optimism, that shit's infectious, much as the negative energy is infectious. And I think if people just make the choice, because it is ultimately a choice, right? Like, it's just perspective. It's just a video game. It's not that big a deal. Like, you could just choose to be excited or happy or optimistic. You don't have to be like sour or negative about it. And I believe if you make the choice to be optimistic and you spread that around, like, it could only help, right?
Yeah, and again, I am under no illusion that it'll need to happen in the first few months. And then I probably won't be the one to close the door like I was with TA. Because that was a sour one. So, I want, for a few months, I want a game that I can log on to, play a few games, and feel like we tried our best to help support it and try to convince people who don't have the emotional baggage carried along with this game.
Yeah, I would just say maybe don't carry the baggage, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I know it's easier said than done. It definitely took me quite a while to learn that lesson.
I was angry for 5 years. Every time something came up with tribes, I was angry for fucking 5 years again. That was like that fire that burned, like when out of the blue came out, I was fucking pissed because that was what we said we shouldn't do. We had a play. I don't know if you ever were in that, but I know APC was, because I think he started it. Had this idea of getting rid of the classes and just have light, medium, heavy, and then toss all of the weapons to everyone.
I think I have a controversial opinion on this. I actually think that ruined Tribes Ascend. I think that as soon as they started listening to the community and capitulating, that was literally like the beginning of the end. And I think if they had just stuck to their guns, whether they were right or wrong, like obviously they made mistakes, but like I think if they had just stuck to their guns and tried to make the game they wanted to make, it would have been in a better off state at the end of things. Because but I know that's probably like the least popular opinion. I just really don't like what the game turned into. And I guess like I'm an OD, like I like Tribes Ascend. I had a lot of fun. Obviously, I went to LAN for Tribes Ascend. Like I love Tribes Ascend. But I like the way I like the way it was. Like I don't know. After that change, and you could do all the weird shit that you could do, and I just it felt like the whole power balance shift happened, and I don't know. Maybe it is better now. but I didn't like it. Really just didn't seem like a good. Maybe I'm just projecting. Like maybe it was the downfall of like when I started to not like the game. I don't really know about the numbers, honestly. Maybe it's better.
But here's the thing, right?
You play Tribes Ascend, don't you? Doomsday.
Doom.
Yes, I have in the past. It's been quite some time. I played yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I thought you were like a current Tribes Ascend like pug player. I was gonna ask you if you thought it was better now than it was.
I do remember when they started adding all those extra things, and I just feel like they could really trim down the classes. Just keep it simple.
Ooh, trimming the fat, bro. That's a good way of putting it. That's exactly what we're working with here, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
This is basically Tribes Ascend with the fat trimmed off.
Yeah.
And
you don't need 1,000 choices. You just need 5 simple choices with a couple customizations.
They were working off of, they had to sell packs and they had to sell. That's the thing. That was their monetization. That ruined it. But here's the kicker, right? The kicker to that whole out of the blue thing where they put everything to everyone. That was a test that we saw months before. I think even a year before, and I was part of those guys having that conversation, and it was in a private test. Yeah, I am. Like 5 people, don't worry. It's been good and stable. It was a test. So I'll finish the thought.
Sorry, go ahead.
So the idea was then they're like, okay, TA is in maintenance. We're not gonna have any development, but we can do this, which is release everything the community had been asking for, namely just do the 3 weight classes and give all the weapons and loadouts. And we tested that, we saw it, and then said, this will be impossible to balance. You're not going to do this because you're on a maintenance budget. You don't have any devs anymore. This isn't going to happen. This is going to be awful. And then they didn't do it. Until out of the blue. Where they took that unfinished concept in the exact state it was and tossed it into the game as a patch. And like, look, we listened. And that pissed me off for another 6 months. That really sent me into the rage. But I'm better now. I'm fine. I don't put the worth of my life and well-being into this game anymore, so that's fine.
Let's fucking go, baby. Oh, sorry. I don't know. I can't be excited right now. I gotta...
No. You have to be morose about it.
No, dude, It's cool to hate, right? Fuck that, dude. I'm gonna be excited. Like, why not? Like, it's like everybody's like afraid to be let down. It's like when you really put that into perspective, like think about that. Let down by what? A video game? That's so fucking dumb. Like, let's just keep it 100. It's a video game. Who cares if it's not perfect?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? It's like, first of all, 2 weeks ago, nobody was here. Nobody knew a Tribes was coming, And now all of a sudden we're here, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, there's a Tribes." So it's like, that's like a time to be happy, It's like, be excited. So what if they bungle it, bro? So what if it's weird? So what if you're like, "Oh, this isn't Tribes." Like, oh well, it's got the Tribes name. You got jetpacks. You can mid-air people. Like,
I can
don't know.
rebound.
I'm just a little more flexible in that way, a little more like amiable to the reality that we're sitting here having this conversation. It's like I'm just happy that exists, because without it, then we wouldn't be here. So
yeah, no, it's I can rebound to 2 other projects, so it's fine. It's like, oh well, this is an extra. I'm happy that I was working on one of the other projects and I have this going, so I have somewhere to go, because that is the thing. Like, the dev wasn't intended for this. So that's fine. I'm not targeting these people. I'm not trying to be a freelance dev for them, because that's not the intention.
I guess I'm kind of weird, dude. It's like, because Tribes is like special, right? Like, okay, like I'll expose myself here, like with Dragon Ball Z, right? Like, I'm a fan of Dragon Ball Z. So no matter what they put out, like, I'm just gonna watch it. Like, I don't care if it's good. I don't care if it's bad. Like, I'm gonna watch it to the end, probably until I die.
The
And
live action movie?
yeah, oh wow, I've watched it all. If it has the name, I've even seen the fan made shit on YouTube, and I'm not even I'm past the point of judging it. Like, I've just accepted that it's my thing. So I'm just gonna consume it. And, if it's not my favorite, then like, oh well, that's not the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel the same way about tribes at this point. Like, but also I've been around the block already. This is like my how many tribes now, you know? And it's like every single tribes it's the same story. So it's like at
Yeah.
this point, like, let's just accept that it's probably going to be weird and different, and get on with it.
How many like community offshoots have we had in the last
and
2
then
years?
I'm not even including those,
Yeah.
right? I've been down that road too, and it's
That
like
the difference is for me that up until last year, I was fucking done. I didn't care. I was doing other things. I'm doing my D&D. I'm doing all kinds of shit. And then they asked me, because I even asked for Midair. That was the last time I asked. I'm like, hey, Midair Community Edition. You know, you don't have a lot of maps. You know, can I do this? And then I got a response like, oh no, but we're professionals and you're a hobbyist. And I'm like, all right, cool, see ya. So that's okay, done. But then I got asked. I got asked for, because that's the way it went. Like, somebody, I didn't know who Zooey was. I didn't know, and he's like, he comes to me and says, "Hey, my friend is remaking Tribes 1 in Unreal Engine." I'm like, great, good luck to him. Like, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. And then, like 4 months later, the guy himself asks me, like, hey, so you had some height maps and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And I basically open up this dusty box, this folder in my computer, and I'm like, here you go, here's everything I have, because it didn't matter anymore to me. And then he came back, and then we started talking, and then the fucking the tribe's brain activated, right? Then we were gone. We're off to the races, because then I started thinking about it. And that was Axial Drift. That was Kevin. That was, and then of course there you go. I'm screaming like in The Godfather, you know? They pull me right back in. And now I have then that fucking shut down. And now I have to do a thing with this, because now I have stuff. I bought 2 terrain generators for like $500 to do something with this now. And then yeah, the rest is history. Here I am ranting about maps again in 2023. But yeah.
I would like to hear your thoughts, Doomsday, if you have any, about the rating system stuff.
In the bot itself.
Yeah, just in general, based on what I'm saying in chat.
I don't have any experience with it. I've never used it.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to bounce out then, guys. You guys can talk about that, but I'm going to go to fuck to sleep because it's almost 12 here. So.
All right, bro. Take it easy.
Thanks for the chats, and see you around.
Good chat. Good chat.
Okay. The first official stream. Who knows, this will be a legendary or oft talked about piece of tribal history one day. All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you have, all 3 to 4 of you, which is great. And yeah, I'll be doing this more. I'll be making this same map over and over and over again until they listen. They will listen. All right. GG's, and